Hey guys, I want to talk a little bit more about designing sounds with synthesis. Um, I decided that in this clip I was working on last video, I wanted to have a supplemental helicopter sound that was more of like a realistic upfront blade chopping sound. So I decided to try to create one single blade chop with synthesis and then perform it with MIDI. And then add some other effects after, which I did. So I'll show you the process a bit here. I started with oscillator A, and you can hear it's kind of just a very analog sine wave with a bit of character, so not a true sine. Now this is a good starting point to create a beefy kind of sound, because you do want a bit of pureness to your sound to get it to hit well. Like the low end stuff, you want like pure sound sine waves, because they resonate really nicely. Really noisy stuff on the low end isn't always ideal until you get to the point of distortion. And then things change a bit. But anyway, and we're gonna get there. But first, we're gonna start with the sine wave. Okay, another important factor here is that I have this on 16 unison and detuned all the way. With just one, it sounds a bit more centered and pure. With the 16 unison detuned all the way, it's a lot more noisy and wide and flangey, which I think is good for percussive stuff. Another trick for percussive elements is to take another short envelope. This is the main envelope. It has 381 milliseconds decay and 87 milliseconds release. Very fast to get that percussive sound. And then you can take that same envelope and put it on the coarse pitch, which gives us that. You know what? Let me go ahead. I can actually bypass that. And you can hear how that sounds a little bit different. It has more of a kick to it when the pitch changes, right? And then at that point, that's when I decide I like to add some distortion. So I generally add oscillator B and turn the level all the way down. And then frequency modulate oscillator A with it. So I have that about 35%. And you can hear how that changes it quite a bit. Okay, and then I just want to add more character at this point. So I add this attack kick noise, one shot, keyboard tracking off with pitch at 30%. You can't hear that too much, but it's adding to the character. And then I have the sub at a pulse width, and I've got that blended in as well, just to add more beef and character. This is all running through an effects chain that has distortion and compression and a filter with drive turned all the way up. Without these, it's almost nothing. So this is an important part of it. Got getting these things dialed in just right. And then I add the filter after these oscillators with everything enabled. Cutoff starting at 455 about. I probably won't get it back to that, but 450, there we go, 455. And then I have oscillator or envelope 2 at about 64%. Again, this is making it more percussive, tightening it up, and peeling back some of the additive distortion we are introducing with the spectral oscillator, frequency modulating the first oscillator. So all that to say, it's going through distortion, compression, and another filter. Okay. After that, I add Traveler, which adds Doppler and attenuation and dampening effects to the curve that is set. And then after that, I add Saturn, I drive all the way up, warm tape. And the key here is, this is a big important thing about Saturn that I don't know if a lot of people realize. But if you boost the dynamics here, this does radical effects for this plugin. Boosting it just a little bit squashes it very well, so that the rarefications are higher and the amplifications are squashed. So it's more of a flat, smoothing it out with a lot of harmonic distortion going on. And then I run that through a reverb. Again, H reverb. A lot of people who watch my videos know that I use this religiously for sound design. I have it about 50% wet and very short reverb time, mostly towards the early reflections, which I have set at setting 5. And that sounds like this. All right, so you can see I'm performing the MIDI here. I have an initial volume curve, but then it's also going through Traveler, Saturn, and H reverb. It sounds quite nice. The next thing I wanted to show was the waves sound. And I don't mean the plugin manufacturer, I mean the actual waves in the ocean. So I started with Twin 2 by FabFilter because they have very nice noise oscillators. They have a pink noise and a white noise that I like to add together. And then I link my filters in a certain way and then modulate all of them by the mod wheel so that I can basically have control over the amount of wind with the mod wheel. And I perform that. As you can see here, this is the mod wheel performance. And then I add, here I added some EQ curve, cut the low end and cut out a little bit between 2 and 3K, and then added, added black hole with a little bit of mix here, and size at 40. So, not too big. I'm trying to use this to add a bit of the space and metallic sound bouncing off of the ship. And then a little cut here at 250 to leave space for the other things. But this is what it sounds like with everything. You can hear it dial back when it goes inside the cockpit, and then a little whoosh when it goes through the eye. And so that's all performed with the mod wheel. And then I decided to supplement that with an ocean wave sound. This is on the beach, right up close to the sand, with the ocean waves coming in. Now, obviously, the scene isn't that intimate, but mixed with the synth waves, it creates this sort of foreground and background effect that I think is really nice. So let's listen to those together, see how that adds. A little bit more high-end detail and character there. Not too much. It's subtle, but it's important. And that's my recording. So again, this video is mostly about the synth stuff, but in this design that I'm sort of documenting over time, the idea is to use proprietary sounds, whether they're Foley or designed, and trying to sort of lean heavily on synthesis to design a lot of these things. So, as we know from the original, I have this cool bass synth that starts in that I've sort of ushered in a bit with a fade to compensate for these hits that I'm auditioning here. So let's hear that together. So you can hear how that synth is all choppy when the helicopter starts moving to give that effect. But let's listen to it in context with the new helicopter and waves sounds we added. Right, so it's pretty cool. And if you listen to only the synthesizer bass sounds, just take out the audio recording bass sounds, then we have quite a bit filled in with just synths. Let's listen. Right, so that's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. And you know, with the synth-based stuff, it's important to remember that um, you start looking at it very on the microscopic level, and the details in the frequency spectrum. Um, you know, you're thinking of it from making it as cool or realistic as possible. But keep in mind, once it's done, don't be afraid to cut a bunch of stuff out of it because it needs to blend in with the mix, right? I really very much love how this helicopter bass sound I made came in really prominent at the beginning. But I think an organic hit makes more sense in this scene in the same way that the original team who made it did. You can hear that in the original. There's a hit that starts it, and I think that makes the most sense. So that's why I add these cinematic hits. Right. Okay. So anyway, that was a long one. I didn't mean to go that long, but we're going to test it out, see if anyone actually made it this far. A lot of interesting information, I think, in here about settings. So people who are interested in getting into the nitty gritty of the process of designing these things, I think will find this interesting. But anyways, I'm not going to blather on for too much longer. I just want to say thank you for watching if you made it this far. And I'll try to make more short, concise videos in the future. But yeah, I wanted to dig into a couple synthesis processes I did for this one. So again, thanks for watching, and see you next time.